councillor for District 8, and this is a public information meeting, and it's with respect to a property on 15 Lockhart Drive. The applicant is Cecil Lockhart. This is being recorded because our protocols are a bit different during COVID with public information meetings. We can't host them in person. We have the application. Planning staff will explain our policies through this meeting. At this point in time, staff has not done any evaluation on the application and no decisions have been made. And so this will be posted to give applicants a chance to understand the proposal and to make any comments they so choose. Our staff in attendance today is Will Robinson Mushkett, and I don't believe the applicant has joined us this afternoon. Cecil Lockhart, he hasn't joined us. So that'll take us right to the presentation by Will, unless, Will, you feel the need to add anything to the comments I made there.
No, I will begin the presentation momentarily. So this is a public information meeting. It is a planning application to permit a development agreement for a 3-unit residential dwelling in New Minas at 15 Lockhart Drive. Cecil Lockhart is the applicant in this instance. So the purpose of the meeting is as follows: to inform the public of the application at hand, to explain the planning policies that enable this application to occur, and to receive preliminary feedback. Please note that no opinions have been formed on this application at this time. So what is a development agreement? A development agreement is a legal contract between council and a property owner. It restricts the developer to the use or types of uses outlined in the development agreement. It allows council to exercise more specific control over not only the types of uses, but over the character, form, and maintenance of the development. And it runs with the land. That is, conditions do not cease if the land changes ownership. So with regard to the specific proposal, the application is to permit a 3-unit residential dwelling in New Minas. The subject property is located within the boundaries of the New Minas Wellfield Protection Overlay B. And the municipal planning strategy policies pertaining to this particular well protection overlay, that's overlay B, require a development agreement for a multi-unit residential within the overlay. This is a map of the municipality of the County of Kings. And you'll see a red circle that appears there, and that's the approximate location of the subject property within the village of New Minas. This is an aerial photograph of the subject property. So you'll note the subject property is located at the intersection of Jones Road and Lockhart Drive. Jones Road extends south to Commercial Street, and this is a primarily residential neighborhood. The subject property itself is approximately 29,710 square feet, which is roughly 2/3 of 1 acre, and it features 250 feet of frontage along Lockhart Drive. This is the future land use of the subject property in the surrounding area, and you can see that the subject property and all of the properties within the immediate vicinity are designated residential under the future land use map. This is a zoning map of the subject property. So you'll note that the subject property and the neighboring properties all fall within the residential mixed density zone. This zone is intended to provide a mixture of housing forms and small multi-unit dwellings. So it's a little bit more density intended for this zone than in a typical R1 or R2 zone. And you will note that there is a few R2 zone properties just at the lower left-hand corner of the map. Those would be fronting onto Alders Avenue. And I'll also draw your attention right now to the well fields that are highlighted on this map. So at the upper right-hand corner is well field zone A, and that's the overlay which is closest to the actual wellhead. And well field zone B, where the subject property and surrounding properties are located, is a little bit further away. So this is a photograph of the subject property as it has been developed. So currently there is 1 unit occupied, which is permitted within the zone and permitted within the wellfield overlay. But in order to extend beyond the 1 unit occupied, the development agreement is necessary. This is a photograph of the subject property and the dwelling taken from Jones Road. So you'll note there are 2 doors at the lower level, kind of the basement ground level, and so those would be the 2 units that would be permitted by the development agreement. Those units would be basement walkouts. This is a photograph taken pretty much kitty corner from the previous photo. So you'll see a deck to the upper unit, and as well you can see the porch for that front unit as well. This is a photograph of the subject property, just kind of taken at a different angle from the same position. So you'll note that there is a slope at the eastern end of the property, sloping down quite a considerable degree. So this is situated quite far away from the location of the existing dwelling. So with regard to the specific policies, policy 2.6.13 of the municipal planning strategy speaks to the wellfield zone overlay, and is to consider only by development agreement the following uses within the wellfield protection overlay B of the new Minas wellfield protection overlay. In particular, 2.6.13F, multi-unit residential uses at a density of 12 units per acre if permitted in the underlying zone. So when considering a DA to permit land uses, council shall have regard to policy 2.6.16. This policy, speaks to the following: that the application does not include accessory uses that would otherwise be prohibited. That the applicant shall submit reports that assess the risk of the proposal on groundwater quality and quantity, recommend measures to minimize and or mitigate potential negative impacts, and that council shall be satisfied that the proposal does not increase the potential for groundwater contamination. C, that the applicant shall submit plans for the storage, disposal, or handling of any potential pollutants. D, that the applicant shall submit drainage studies and plans. E, that the application must receive a favorable response from the municipal or village water authority. F, that appropriate controls are placed on the development in order to minimize the risks of groundwater contamination. G, that it meets the general development agreement criteria set out in MPS section 5.3. And those criteria, the general DA criteria, so this is the criteria in which all development agreement applications are evaluated against, are as follows: that the application is in keeping with the intent of the municipal planning strategy, so that the goals and objectives outlined in the municipal planning strategy are being met. That the application is not in conflict with municipal or provincial programs, bylaws, or regulations. That there's no undue negative financial impact on the municipality as a result of the application. That the proposed land use permitted by the development agreement would be compatible with surrounding land uses. That there, when applicable, that there's adequate institutional and community facilities and within an adequate proximity to the proposed use. That traffic considerations such as the road network, traffic generation, and congestion are examined and not deemed to have any negative impact. that there's adequate fire protection and services and equipment to serve the proposed use, that there's adequate water and sewer services or site servicing when necessary, that when applicable, there's no potential for creating floodage or drainage issues as a result of the proposed use, that there'd be no negative impacts on well fields or groundwater sources as a result of the proposed use, that there'd be no reason to believe that there would be soil erosion or siltation of watercourses caused by the proposed use. When applicable, that there would be no negative impacts on lake water quality. When applicable, no negative impacts on neighboring farm operations. And finally, that overall the site is suitable in terms of the grade, topography, and soil conditions. So these are the general criteria that are evaluated, that are used to evaluate a planning application for a development agreement, and staff examined these the application against these criteria for all development agreement applications. Finally, in terms of the development agreement process, so at this point the application has been deemed to be complete and has been received by the municipality. We're at the very early stages of the planning application, where we're going to have the PIM recording posted online for 30 days and invite members of the public to comment on the application at hand and pose any questions they may have with regard to the application. Once this is complete, staff will complete their review of the application against the specific policies for the wellfield zone and then the general GA criteria. It will move to the Planning Advisory Committee, where the Planning Advisory Committee will have an opportunity to comment upon the application and submit a recommendation to council. This will be followed by initial consideration of council at a meeting of council, where a public hearing would then be scheduled. The public hearing provides another opportunity for members of the public to comment upon the application, and property owners would be notified by a letter mail within 500 feet of the public hearing, and this would also be advertised in the local newspaper as well. Following the public hearing, final consideration occurs, whereby council votes to approve or deny the development agreement application, and then there is a 14-day appeal period of council's decision to the Utility and Review Board, as mandated by the Municipal Government Act. With that, I will post this slide that provides an opportunity for members of the public to pose questions and comments. Members of the public who wish to pose questions or make comment on the application at hand can contact me directly via telephone at 902-690-6173, via email at wrobinson-mushcat@countyofkings.ca, and as well our website, countyofkings.ca/planning.